All right, so I hope this works. Apologies, because I'm literally just doing this on my phone, balanced on my little pearl bead box. Anyway, so first things first, I'm going to explain the process to you so that you understand why I don't use the mould. Firstly, just because I have varying sizes, varying shapes, so doing a mould faff every time would just not really be worth it. And like you mentioned, the resin's really viscous. So what I do actually, so this is tracing paper that I've drawn on. In fact, actually, this is a photocopy that has been then printed back onto tracing paper at a reduced size from the original drawing, so I can edit the sizes really easily. This one is, let's see, yeah, it's just about 5 centimeters. So let's see there, 5 centimeters roughly. So yeah, obviously these can be reduced down to any size. The drawings are relatively simple. This one, for example, is even more simple because it's got no dot work. So essentially, I could reduce the images, the drawings and the designs that I already have down to the appropriate size, or I could even redesign things, maybe make them slightly simpler so they don't lose too much detail with the size of the zip, or just make some new images, you know what I mean? Design some new stuff specifically. Sorry, excuse my nails, I've just been gardening and I'm just seeing how disgusting and orange seem to be in the camera. Anyway, let's not look at that. So my process is I then cut out the shapes in tracing paper. I then laminate it, and then I cut out the laminate just around to leave like a couple of millimeters of border, because obviously you can just see it actually right at the edge. Ooh, where am I? Right at the edge of the paper inside. There's a slight air bubble, obviously just because of the thickness of the paper. So I leave just a tiny little trim around the edge to make sure that the laminate stays nice and stuck together. I then resin the back, so you can see that that's the back because it's slightly less dark where it's been printed. I resin the back because that's flat. So I lay them face down flat, and then I mix the resin, and using a spatula, I just dab it on and I push it all the way to the edges. And because it's of its viscosity, you can push it all the way to the edge without it spilling over. So I get a layer on the back first, I let that set, I then turn it over, I put my glass clitoris, I stick that on with glue, with strong glue. I also do the same for the little jump hoop that I've got on there. And then when they're stuck in place, I then do the same on the front with the resin and let that sit. And then obviously I make my, add my attachments or whatever. This was the method that I was using before for the small ones. Hold on, let me just grab something bigger. Just to show you an example while we're at it. So this one, for example, completely different style, nothing to do with vaginas, but so this is an attempt that I made with fern. So here I've got various different, little findings that I use on the bigger ones, but with the small ones, I try and keep the detail of the finding attachment as simple as possible. Also just because of the size, the more elaborate ones are usually bigger. The problem with this is that there's not much surface area being held in with the glue and the resin. And especially with posting out this year, I had a couple of problems where the hoop had actually kind of snapped off with the little bit of resin that's just on the inside, just that tiny little interior tip of resin came off with the whole hoop. So my solution for that has been these, which are great. It's flat, very thin, flat metal with a hoop that just passes, which I can put my hooks and stuff in. This is good because I can go right over it with the resin. It's very flat, so compared to the one I just showed you, for example, where the fuck did I just put it? Ugh. Come on, Mika, where are you? Yeah. This one, for example, obviously is quite elaborate. So actually what's holding it in place is the glue that's underneath, and also the resin that's coming up to the edges, which is keeping it set in place. Because it's quite chunky, there's enough resin and enough glue behind it that is quite, solid. I'm not worried about that coming off. When it comes to the small sizes though, if I can't get the resin right over it, then obviously it's still very weak. So these ones I have found to be a really good solution to my problem. In terms of your thing about making them flat, so having them this way up, so say that's the zip, having them like that instead of having them like that. That hoop there is too small. The loop that's, that something can pass through is too small. Hold on, let me just get you a proper example. Look. So that's that. The hole there for something to pass through is too small for your zips, for your D-hooks, I reckon. So you would actually be obliged to pass a little jump hoop through that this way round, so flat, flat this way. And then that would attach the fanny to your zip the right way up. So they would have a link between the two pieces. Let me know if that's all right for you and what you reckon of that. The other option, I think, would be to try and find these types of things, but that have the hoop attachment sort of at 90 degrees, So instead of the hoop being like this, as it is now, it would be attached to it like that, if that makes sense. I would have to have a proper dig around for that, though. It was quite a specific thing. And actually, it's really fucking hard to find tiny, tiny attachment bits online. I've tried so hard. I've trawled through Etsy to find everything I possibly can that's small, flat, and has a little hoop to connect things to. These I actually found in just a jewellery shop nearby. And I have them in varying sizes. Let's see. And I have them in silver and gold. So these are the 3 sizes I've got. Obviously, I think for the size of the zips, it's going to necessarily be the tiniest one, which is, let's have a look. It's about 5 millimeters wide. So there you go. So yeah, let me know what you think of all that, and sorry for the long video.